Implementation committee under my chairmanship in the ministry, and ASU is involved, and NUC is involved, and the forum of chairmen of councils of the universities are involved, and the rest, all interested parties, all stakeholders in the university management and administration are involved in this committee. I personally preside over it. We call it Implementation Monitoring Committee. Now, we came up with guidelines. One, how to access the money. We make sure the first tranche has come, 220 billion, and we told every university what they are entitled to get based on the needs assessment of your respective university. Now, before we give you the guidelines, then we apply. We have all the technical people in NUC. They go through all the process. All we are after is to make sure there are guidelines and there are certain services that are not part of the needs assessment. For example, one of it is that there wouldn't be any new big structure. The main concern of ASU was the dilapidated nature of the existing facilities. You cannot go on to start building new infrastructure when the old ones are not being maintained. So about 80–90% of the needs assessment funds is going into rehabilitation, resustaining the buildings, and so on and so forth, providing the basic needs either in libraries, in workshops, books, journals in the libraries, and above all, there is the aspect of human capital development. That is the aspect of encouraging a lot of them to go for further studies. All these are part of the needs assessment, and guidelines were given. So for them really to understand the guidelines and make sure we minimize the error in the process, just a couple of days ago we called all the vice chancellors, all the directors of works, all the directors of planning, physical planning in the universities, the chairmen of councils were all there. Then we read out and we held a 2-day workshop. We gave the guidelines to them, and we asked them to discuss it, ask questions, finalize it, so that every university is fully aware of the guidelines. And we also insisted, as part of the requirement, every university should set up what we call implementation management committee, so that it's not just left to the office of the vice chancellor or the office of the registrar to do as they wish, because this is a special intervention. And in that university monitoring and implementation committee, ASU is also involved. So everybody is involved, and there will be no abuses, there will be checks and balances. So for this year, we have started the disbursement. And I think at last month, as many as about 25 to 30 universities have started accessing their monies. And this is going to be an ongoing process. It's going to be a continuous process. By 2015, as you access your own money and we certify that you have judiciously and effectively utilized the funds, then you are free to access the next year's money. It has been phased out into 5 years. Each year, government is going to provide 220 billion. And I'm sure by the end of these 5 years, and this, don't forget, does not stop the normal, regular budgetary provision for each university. It also does not stop the normal intervention from the TED fund, the Tertiary Education Fund, because this is seen as a special intervention. So I'm sure by the end of 5 years, I pray we live long to see the transformation that will come into our tertiary institutions. This 3 or 4 different interventions. You have the special needs assessment, government is giving special funding. You have the TED fund is being given special money. You have the normal budgetary provision still by government. You have other interventions. Central Bank is doing some few things in our universities. PTDF is doing some intervention. All of them trying to encourage research and research work in our universities. So I'm sure by the next 5 years, we are all going to be very proud of what we have in our tertiary institutions.
Well, it's interesting that we're making some progress, but then we can't exclude the issue of terrorism in these schools. You know, really, this has happened this year a couple of times.
Yes, I think it's a very serious matter. You see, when you talk of this terrorism, the insurgency problem, and it's a global new challenge. And it's a new challenge to our nation. And, not only the institutions, the communities, you hear the bomb blast in market squares, bomb blast in motor parks, bomb blast in schools, in offices, and so on. So I think on the whole, on our own part in the education sector, we are addressing this very seriously, and we are part of the global initiative of the Safe School program. We've been to many places holding meetings, and we have the local committee here in Nigeria that is addressing this issue of safe schools. We have been reaching out to the various proprietors of schools, even in the private sector. In the public schools, we've been talking with the leadership of our institutions, particularly the tertiary institutions. We encourage them to engage the local security officials to come and be giving them some regular talks as how to, on your own, initiate a lot of security measures. One fact is that Nigeria cannot afford to have security agencies in every institution, in every community. So there has to be what is commonly called community policing in all institutions. And we have sensitized all our leaders of our various institutions, particularly the tertiary institution where you deal with the adults that move in and out. At the primary school level and to some extent secondary school level, there could be a lot of restrictions. You lock the door, you lock the gates because you already know how many in the classroom, how many in the dormitory, constant roll call every day. But in the university, nobody takes any roll call. Even non-students can pretend to come in and go into lecture halls. So this is why our attention is now more on the tertiary institutions, and they are all cooperating. But this is a challenge, it's a very serious challenge. When you're dealing with unidentified people, pretending, coming in as students and only to perpetrate their evil act, we're doing our best to sensitize the school community and draw their attention to the challenge. So government is doing its very best to alert people on the need to be security conscious at all times.
All right. Thank you very much, Minister of Education, Malam Ibrahim Shekarau. Thank you for coming on Dateline Abuja.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your views and comments. We have this one from someone with no name and location. He says, some of the housing projects are not for civil servants, except some rich civil servants, especially the recently commissioned one in Apo Mechanic Village in Abuja. Well, one of the developers, he also says, asked us to pay 30%, which is almost 3 million naira. Where does TUC and NUT wants the average civil servant to get that kind of money from? The government should please look into the housing scheme for civil servants. Well, thank you for that view. I'm sure that will be looked into. Keep your views coming using the address and Twitter handle on your screen. And don't you forget, you can view the program by clicking on to youtube.com/channelsweb/videos. Make your comments after viewing the current video as well as older episodes of the program. Well, thank you for watching this week. Remember to include your name and location of where you're writing from. Thank you for watching. I'm Gloria Umezuki. Have a pleasant season.